This is becoming a disgusting trend. Teens bullied so badly, they think suicide is the way out. Both girls left suicide notes. Paige told her parents not to be sad for them. Haley said she wanted her funeral to be pink. I am just getting sickened by all this. I mean, every day we seem to have a story like this. And, you know, that 12 to 14, 15-year-old window is a delicate window, and kids are just brutal to one another. Parents, you got to watch this. These two girls had the whole life ahead of them. What made them think that suicide was a reasonable answer? Joining me to answer this are Haley's aunt, Robin Settle, and her cousin, Jessica Settle. They join us by phone. Also back with us is psychiatrist Dr. Dale Archer. So, Robin, were there any signs that your niece was suicidal or even depressed?
Dr. Drew.
And let me say, before I ask the question, I just got to say, my heart goes out to you guys. This is one of the saddest stories I've read about in a long time. I am so sorry.
Thank you.
Oh.
I can tell you that I'm sorry. Yeah. That right now I feel like shattered glass. But I also have a determination in me that comes from Haley that I'm not going to let things go unsaid. Something has got to change. I'm sorry.
Were there any signs that she was depressed?
Yeah, there were plenty of signs, and I have to say that I think, for the most part, that they were posts on her Facebook. I would sit nights and go back and forth with her and try to talk her through things, and yeah, she had a lot of, kids this age have a lot of problems anyway, just life.
Yeah.
And dealing with it and how to handle it. And then, then the added situations that Haley had, yeah, there were lots of signs. There were plenty of times that she would say that I just want this to be over, or I just want this to end, or I can't take it anymore.
When she would say I can't take it, was she talking about the bullying?
She just felt displaced, and there were, in my mind, bullying in my age was when somebody would sneak out from behind a garage or something and beat you up and run or whatever. But today it's mental, it's verbal, it's via the internet, Facebook, texting, whatever it is. And yeah, a lot of her problems, and I believe what finally sent her over the edge was the bullying. And Jessica,
you're there with us as well. Did you know about the bullying?
Yeah, I was aware of the bullying. I had talked to Haley several times, as close up to a week before her and Paige took their life, and I tried talking to her about it and told her that everyone goes through it. I went through it, and to stay strong.
Wow. I hate to think, Dr. Archer, I'm going to go to you. I mean, that someone has to say to a 15-year-old, hey, everyone goes through this, especially in this internet age. Everyone has to be bullied. Really? Are we at that point? That's one question I have for you. And the other, in the little research I've done on these suicide pacts, my understanding is that when they occur like this in a pair, sometimes the signs of depression aren't that obvious.
Well, talking about the bullying first, you're absolutely right that bullying has taken on a very sinister tone in the modern world. I mean, 20, 30 years ago, it was getting beaten up perhaps after school. Now it's 24/7. It's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's texting, it's phone calls, voicemails, on and on and on. There's no respite. It goes through the weekend. It goes on nights. And the kids are literally bombarded day, night, constantly. So it's not the same as it was. And that's why we're seeing this rise in suicide, because eventually they say, I cannot take this anymore. And you look at Phoebe Prince, you look at Asher Brown, you look at Tyler Clementi. The names go on and on and on, and bullying is at the root of it. You go next to the question of the suicide pact, and clearly this is a difficult situation because depression is always prominent, but depression is very difficult to determine in adolescence as it is. And in this particular case, oftentimes in a pact, the two individuals bond. So they're bullied separately. They find each other, they bond together, and they say, with each other, we will be okay. But then they start thinking, you know what? We don't have anything else. We don't have friends. We don't have anything else except for each other, and maybe we would be better off dead.
Dr. Archer, I have to tell you that you dropped several bombs there. I actually had like a shudder So we're saying that bullying is directly connected, and this internet, which I'm an adult, and I get bullied every day on the internet. I mean, you'd be amazed. I retweet stuff sometimes that people say to me just to give people a taste of what we have to go through. I can imagine if I were 15 years old, yeah, I'd get depressed. I would get severely depressed. And so you're making a direct connection there. That's one thing, and that actually made me shudder. And I'm sick and disgusted. That's the word I keep using, and I am really disgusted by this. And then secondly, the suicide pact phenomenon, it's not necessarily a romantic union, but is a very dependent union. I guess for people out there to want to try to get their heads around this, it's like Romeo and Juliet. That was a suicide pact.
Well, what it is that you feel it's us against the world. You feel that no one else gets you, no one likes you, no one understands you, you're never going to have friends, you're never going to fit in, but then you find this one person, and they get you, and you relate to them, and they relate to you. And it becomes a bond, and it's an amazingly strong bond. Now, the good news here is that most of these pacts don't end up in suicide. Sometimes only one goes through, and every now and then you get the double suicide. So this is not the norm, and it's not common, but of course it doesn't make it any less sad. And again, in the internet world, I'm afraid that this is becoming more common.
Well, thank you, Dr. Archer. Jessica and Robin, I want to finish with you. There's no words I can say to make this okay or to make you feel any less shattered by this. It's just, I'm so sorry. Is there anything you'd like, as a way of sort of trying to make sense and give back, anything you'd like people out there to know or to watch for or to understand in their own families?
Well, the doctor touched kind of on it in that you'd asked me if there were any signs, and there were very prominent signs, but he hit the nail on the head. And in Paige, Haley found herself, a mirror of herself, and they created that bond, and they disguised it very well in the end. For the last 2 weeks of their lives, they completely appeared happy-go-lucky. And I would just say to teachers, to friends, to parents, to aunts, to uncles, whoever it might be, that we've got to do something about this, and we've got to pay closer attention.